My name is Reese Camden. I'm 31. I woke up in a rehab facility in Portland, Oregon, 3 months after a stroke no one saw coming, to find that my family had already divided my life into boxes. No mother, no sister, no phone calls. Just a voicemail from my stepfather, Gerald, left 6 weeks prior while I was still mostly paralyzed on my right side. His tone was clipped, efficient, like he was canceling a subscription. Reese, we've made some decisions while you've been incapacitated. Your mother and I have decided it's best if you take full responsibility for your care moving forward. We've transferred the lease on your apartment to your name, cleared out what we thought you'd need. Sienna agrees this is what's fair. We wish you well. I listened to it 11 times. Then I threw my phone across the room and watched it shatter against institutional beige walls. The occupational therapist, a woman named Kai with kind eyes and terrible timing, found me crying into my left hand, the only one that still worked properly. She didn't ask questions, just sat with me until my breathing evened out. Later, she told me I'd been moved from ICU to rehab on day 14, and that a woman matching my mother's description had signed the transfer papers, but hadn't visited since. Here's what you need to know about me. I'm a structural engineer. I design bridges, the kind that hold up under impossible weight. I've been financially independent since I was 22, put myself through grad school, bought my own car, paid my own rent. But I kept my mother listed as my emergency contact because some delusional part of me still believed that when it mattered, she'd show up. She didn't. But here's the thing Gerald didn't know. My mother wasn't the only parent I had, and the woman who raised me, the one who mattered, left something behind that no one could touch. Not Gerald, not my mother, not even my half-sister Sienna, who'd perfected the art of looking through me like I was a window. Before I tell you about what happened next, about the attorney who showed up on day 47 with a manila envelope that changed everything, I need to take you back. Back to the house on Willamette Heights, back to the dinners where I learned that blood doesn't always mean family, and back to the night I understood that some people see love as a limited resource, something they ration out like they're worried they'll run out. Portland wasn't always rain and roses. It was a city I grew up in, but never really belonged to. The house on Willamette Heights was my mother's second marriage, Gerald's domain, a sprawling craftsman with original hardwood floors and a view that real estate agents called investment grade. My mother, Diane, married him when I was 9, 3 years after my birth father died. She said it was for stability. She said I'd understand when I was older. I understood, all right. I understood that Sienna, Gerald's daughter from his first marriage, got the window seat at dinner, got her college paid for, got her name on family vacation photos, while mine somehow always got cropped out. I understood that when I asked for help with AP calculus, Gerald said, "You're a smart girl, Reese. Figure it out." But when Sienna struggled with basic algebra, he hired a tutor who came 3 times a week and cost more than my school lunches for the year. I learned to take up less space. I learned to eat quickly and excuse myself. I learned that needing anything, asking for anything, was treated like an imposition, a character flaw. But here's what kept me going. My birth father's mother, my grandmother, Lorraine. She lived in a small cottage in Selwood, and every other weekend she'd pick me up in her ancient Volvo that smelled like lavender and old books. She'd make me pancakes, let me talk for hours, and she'd always end our visits the same way. Hand on my cheek, eyes steady, voice like bedrock. Your father loved you more than anything in this world, Reese, and he made sure you'd be taken care of. Don't ever let anyone tell you you're not worth everything. I thought she meant emotionally, the intangible stuff, love, memory, legacy. I didn't know she meant it literally. When I was 16, I played in a regional science fair. I'd built a scale model of a suspension bridge, complete with load calculations and stress analysis. I'd worked on it for 6 months, stayed up nights perfecting the cable ratios. My mother said she'd come. She promised. Gerald said he'd try, but he had a client dinner. Sienna didn't even pretend. The fair ended at 7. I waited in the school parking lot until 8:30, my project sitting in a box next to me, my phone going straight to voicemail. Finally, I called Lorraine. "Stay put, sweetheart," she said. "I'm coming right now." It was November. One of those early winter nights where the rain comes in sideways and the roads turn into black mirrors. She was driving her Volvo down Barber Boulevard when a semi-truck jackknifed in front of her. The police said she probably didn't suffer. They said it was instant. I was 17 when they told me. My mother stood in the doorway of my room, mascara perfect, and said, "Your grandmother had a heart condition. She shouldn't have been driving at night." I wanted to scream that Lorraine drove at night because I called her, because no one else came. But I'd already learned that my needs were inconvenient, and guilt was a weapon my mother wielded like a scalpel. At the funeral, my mother cried beautifully. Gerald stood beside her, stoic, appropriate. I stood alone and tried not to shatter. Afterwards, my mother told me Lorraine's estate was complicated, that there wasn't much, that I shouldn't expect anything. "Your grandmother lived simply," she said. "There's nothing to inherit but old furniture and sentiment." I believed her, because why wouldn't I? She was my mother. Years passed. I went to college on scholarships, worked 2 jobs, graduated summa cum laude. I became the kind of engineer who gets called when projects are failing, when bridges need saving. I bought my own apartment, a tiny 1-bedroom in the Pearl District, and I filled it with things that were mine. I saw my family on holidays, endured the small cruelties, the passive-aggressive comments about my career, my singleness, my lack of interest in Gerald's business connections. And then, at 31, on a random Tuesday in March, I collapsed at a construction site. Stroke, hemorrhagic. The kind that happens to people twice my age, the kind no one sees coming. I woke up 3 weeks later, half my body refusing to cooperate, my speech slurred, my entire life reduced to a hospital bed, and the crushing realization that no one had come. No flowers, no cards, no presents. Just Gerald's voicemail, clinical and final. The rehab facility was decent. Insurance covered most of it, thank God, but the bills were piling up. PT, OT, speech therapy, medications I couldn't pronounce. I was drowning in medical debt and barely able to hold a pen, let alone work. That's when Kai, the occupational therapist, told me someone had been asking about me. "An attorney," she said. "Left his card. Said it was urgent." His name was Marcus Tomlinson. Gray hair, wire-rimmed glasses. The kind of calm competence that makes you trust someone immediately. He knocked on my door on day 47, carrying a leather satchel and an expression that was hard to read. "Ms. Camden," he said, sitting in the plastic chair by my bed. "I'm the executor of Lorraine Camden's estate. I've been trying to reach you for 6 years." I blinked at him, my brain still slow from the stroke, trying to process. "My grandmother died 14 years ago." "Yes," he said, "and her will went into probate shortly after, but the notifications were sent to your mother's address, the address on file from when you were a minor." My stomach dropped. "My mother never told me." "No," Marcus said quietly. "She didn't." He opened his satchel and pulled out documents, pages and pages of them. Deeds, bank statements, investment portfolios, my grandmother's neat signature on every page. "Your grandmother was more financially secure than your mother led you to believe," Marcus said. "She owned 3 properties, a cottage in Selwood, which you may remember, a rental duplex in Hawthorne, and a commercial building in Northwest Portland, currently leased to a coffee roastery and a bookstore." I couldn't breathe. "What?" "She left everything to you, Reese. The properties, the rental income, the investment accounts. She set up an irrevocable trust with very specific instructions. You were to receive access at age 25 or upon completion of your graduate degree, whichever came first." My hands, the left one shaking, gripped the bed rail. "I graduated at 23. Marcus nodded. "I sent certified letters, 6 of them over the years. All went to your mother's address, the one listed as your permanent residence when you were in college. All were signed for." He showed me the proof, my mother's signature, looping and confident on every single certified mail receipt. She never told me, I whispered. No, Marcus said. And there's more. Your stepfather, Gerald, has been using your name and your grandmother's estate as collateral for business loans. He forged your signature on documents 3 years ago, claiming you'd agreed to co-sign. The lenders believed him because he's your stepfather, and the assets were substantial. The room tilted. How much? He's leveraged approximately $2.3 million against properties you legally own. I closed my eyes. All those years. All those comments about being a burden, about needing to be self-sufficient, about how I should be grateful for the roof over my head, the food on the table. And the whole time, they were living off my inheritance. Marcus leaned forward. Miss Camden, I need your permission to move forward. We can file for fraud, reclaim the properties, pursue criminal charges if you want. But I need to know, what do you want to do? I looked at him. This stranger who'd spent 6 years trying to find me, who'd kept my grandmother's wishes alive when my own family tried to bury them. I want everything back, I said. My voice was still slurred from the stroke, but it was steady. Every single thing she left me, and I want them to know I know. Marcus smiled. It wasn't kind. It was the smile of someone who'd been waiting for permission to go to war. Then let's get started. It took 3 months. 3 months of physical therapy, of learning to walk without stumbling, of speech exercises that left me exhausted, and 3 months of Marcus and his team building a case that was, in his words, airtight and deeply satisfying. By June, I could walk with a cane. My speech was 90% back, and I had a plan. Gerald's company, Camden Solutions, held an annual donor gala every summer. Black tie, silent auction, wealthy Portland elite, congratulating themselves for caring. He always gave a speech about integrity, about building legacy, about family values. I bought a ticket. Marcus came with me. I wore a simple black dress, the kind that doesn't demand attention. I walked in, cane in hand, and watched my mother's face go pale. Sienna, standing next to her in designer everything, actually gasped. Gerald was on stage when I arrived, mid-speech, talking about the importance of supporting those who can't support themselves. I waited until he finished, until the applause died down, until the room was quiet and waiting for the next segment. Then I stood. Marcus handed me a microphone. Gerald, I said, my voice carried, clear and strong. I'd like to thank you for that inspiring speech about supporting the vulnerable. He froze. The room turned. I'm Reese Camden, Gerald's stepdaughter, and I'd like to share a story about family and integrity and what happens when you steal from someone you claim to care about. I told them everything. About the forged signatures, the hidden inheritance, the certified letters intercepted and buried. Marcus displayed documents on the screens meant for the auction, projected for everyone to see. Deeds with my grandmother's signature. Loan documents with my forged name. Bank records showing years of rental income diverted into Gerald's accounts. A banker in the 3rd row stood up, face red, and pulled out his phone. He was muttering something about immediate audit and suspended credit line. My mother tried to approach me, tears streaming, hands reaching. Reese, sweetheart, you don't understand. We were going to tell you. We were protecting you. I stepped back. You signed for 6 letters, I said quietly. 6 times you knew what Grandma Lorraine left me. And you said nothing. You let me struggle. You let me believe I was a burden. You let Gerald steal from me for years. She had no answer, just tears, perfectly applied mascara running. Sienna, to her credit, just stared. Then she whispered, I didn't know. I believe you, I said. And I did. Sienna was a lot of things, but she wasn't cruel, just oblivious, privileged in a way that made her blind. Gerald tried his politician smile, the one that usually worked, that usually charmed. Reese, we can discuss this privately. There's no need for... There's every need, I said, because you taught me something important, Gerald. You taught me that family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up, and you never did. Marcus stepped forward then, handed me a folder. "These are the property deeds," he said loud enough for the room to hear. "Officially transferred back to Miss Camden as of 9 a.m. this morning. The loans Gerald secured using her assets have been declared fraudulent, and the lenders are pursuing legal action." The room erupted. Whispers, gasps, phones coming out. I turned to leave, Marcus beside me, my cane clicking against marble floors. Sienna caught up to me at the door. "Reese, wait." I stopped, turned. "I really didn't know," she said again. Her voice was small, genuine. "And I'm sorry. For all of it. For not seeing you. For taking up all this space." I looked at her. This woman who'd been given everything I wasn't, and I felt tired. Not angry. Just tired. "I believe you," I said again. "And I forgive you, Sienna. But I don't want a relationship. I don't want family dinners or reconciliation. I want peace." She nodded, tears in her eyes, and let me go. By August, the dust had settled. The properties were mine, legally and completely. The rental income was substantial, enough that I could focus on physical therapy without worrying about bills. I sold the commercial building to a young couple who wanted to expand the bookstore, use the money to pay off my medical debt, and set up a scholarship fund in Grandma Lorraine's name for students studying engineering. I kept the cottage in Selwood, renovated it slowly, carefully, turning it back into the warm, lavender-scented refuge it had been when she was alive. I kept the Hawthorne duplex too, rented it out to artists and grad students, people who needed space to grow. And I bought new furniture for my apartment, a couch that didn't come from Craigslist, art that I actually liked, a piano because Grandma Lorraine always said I should learn. I framed one photo of her and me, taken at Powell's bookstore when I was 10. We're both laughing, her arm around me, my gap-toothed grin taking up half my face. I put it on my mantle, and every morning when I wake up, when my right hand still doesn't quite work the way it used to, when I'm frustrated with my progress, I look at that photo and I remember. Love isn't about who stays when it's easy. It's about who plans for your future when they won't be there to see it. Grandma Lorraine couldn't be there to pick me up that night, but she'd been planning for this moment since before I was born. She'd been building me a bridge, the kind that holds up under impossible weight, and I finally learned what she'd been trying to teach me all along. I was always worth everything. I just needed to start believing it.